I finished up work a little bit early today, and on my way home, I stumbled across this little road as I was passing by, and I thought to myself, wonder where that goes. My truck could easily break down on this road, and I would be stuck. What then? Thankfully, the guys from Survival Dispatch have sent me their survival kit. It's a budget kit, under $100. I think they said it costs $99 to put it together. And I'm going to be relying on that to sustain me if something should happen. I often find myself wandering down the path less traveled. I enjoy hiking off trail way more than I like hiking on trail. And with that comes some inherent risks, and I understand that. I also understand that you should always tell somebody where you're going before you go, just in case something should happen, they will know where to look for you. But realistically, my sense of adventure, my curiosity gets the best of me, and I travel down these paths without letting people know sometimes, and that's just life. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. We don't always do the right thing because it's just not practical, realistic, or convenient. But with a sense of adventure, if you're into that kind of thing, I think it is absolutely imperative that you practice some sort of self-reliance, some sort of survival skills, that you have some sort of knowledge that can get you out of a sticky situation if you should find yourself in it, like I'm about to put myself into. I'm at the end of the road, and let's say my truck won't start back up. What do? I have a couple of options the way I see it. First option is I could spend the night in the truck because I've got maybe 2 hours of daylight left. I could spend the night in the truck, which would be a good shelter if it should rain or something like that, but it's going to be freaking cold. It's easily going to drop down to the 20s tonight. Second option is I could start walking my way out of here and potentially make it most of the way. It's probably a little over 10 miles to where I turned onto this road, and maybe a couple more miles after that before I could get to cell phone service and call for a ride. I think I'm going to go with option B because just sleeping in the truck sucks. And it's going to be really, really, really cold. And I could cover quite a bit of ground in the next hour or so and still have enough time to set up camp before it gets dark on me. Now, I could potentially walk my way all the way out of here in one go, just walking through the night. There's a few turns on this road, and there's a possibility that I may not recognize one or may not notice one on my way out in the dark. So the smart thing to do would probably be to set up camp this evening and allow myself enough time to gather up firewood that will last throughout the night, because I know for a fact sleeping outside in 20-degree weather without a sleeping bag is going to be really, really cold. And without a fire that's going to last me all night until I start moving again in the morning, life is going to be pretty miserable. I haven't drank water in several hours, and I'm getting kind of thirsty. I see some water behind me down there, and it looks like a little bit of a tiny little waterfall. It might be an easy way for me to fill up my container and use my water filter that's in my kit. Like I said before, the only thing that I have to sustain me on my way home, my way out of here, is this budget survival kit. The goal, I guess the whole premise behind it, the goal was to put together a quality kit for under $100. I think the whole thing costs $99 bucks. I mean, you could easily spend $99 or more, a lot more, on just a pack. Just a bag to carry your stuff, you could spend more than that. So stretching $100 out to make it fill all of your needs that you might possibly have on a situation like this is not that easy of a task, but I think they did a pretty decent job of putting it together, and well, we're gonna find out how comfortable it makes me on the way home. Now, I could make my way home without any gear. I could do it. I probably wouldn't die tonight, although hypothermia is definitely a possibility if it was to rain or something like that and get cold. But the difference is that having just a little bit of kit, just this little pack that I'm wearing here, and I've got my jacket strapped to it, just this little bit of kit is going to make me so much more comfortable. I could drink this water right here. This is fresh flowing, relatively clear water off the top of this mountain, and I could probably drink it and get away with it without filtering it or boiling it. But there's always that risk of it making me sick. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but it could potentially make me sick several days down the road, and nobody wants that. So with this little kit, I've got a small little Sawyer mini filter in here, and that is what I'm going to use to get myself a drink. And then I'm going to fill up the little water bladder, the bag that it comes with, and take that with me. That way I can possibly even have a hot brew, some pine needle tea or something this evening. I also threw in an extra layer in here because, just in full disclosure, this was not part of the kit, but I knew how cold it was going to get, and I'm an idiot. I do stupid things, but I wanted to have a little bit of extra comfort. So my plan is to drink this much. This is 16 ounces. I'm going to drink all this, fill up my belly with some water, refill this, and then carry it with me. Now, for just demonstration purposes of how this inexpensive kit can see me through, I didn't even bring my normal everyday carry stuff. I don't even have a pocket knife in my pocket. No lighter, none of that stuff that I normally have on me all the time. I'm relying completely, 100% on the stuff that's in the kit. The only additions that I made to the kit, the only changes, the only modifications, is that I added a t-shirt, an extra base layer, and I put a few rations in there. And that's pretty much it. But it all fits nicely. Even my extra batteries for my camera that I'm shooting on, everything that I have is in the pack, with the exception of this now, I guess. And I foresee having a cold night, a fairly sleepless night, but I do not foresee dying anytime soon. So I'm gonna keep hiking my way out of here until I estimate that I've got about an hour or so left of daylight, and then I'm gonna start setting up camp off the road a bit. Now, if this was a real emergency situation, I could potentially just set up camp right here on the road, and maybe somebody would come along in the middle of the night or something. Probably not, but potentially, and then I could flag them down and get some help. But to be honest with you, I'm not hurt. I'm capable of getting myself out of this situation. And even if I wasn't fabricating this situation. Even if this was real and my truck did break down and I had to get myself out of here, I probably wouldn't even ask for help then. Even if a truck was to drive by, I probably would just wave to them and carry on my way and get myself out of here. Call me stubborn, call me stupid, call me what you will, but I don't know, I guess maybe it's pride that I can get myself out of these situations. I'm not gonna die. I might be a little uncomfortable, but I think we have too much comfort in our lives. I think we need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. I am making an effort to keep my pace slow enough to where I don't start sweating. I shed my hat. Might shed this fleece here in a second, because as I climb this hill, I'm getting a little bit warm and I don't want to get all sweaty and wet. That would make me even colder when I finally do stop. Way off in the distance over there, probably several miles away, I don't know how many miles that would be, it's far. I see some sort of building, and in this little kit is a simple compass. I could take a bearing on that little building right there and then just kind of march my way down this hill and head straight towards civilization that I know, and potentially find that little building. But again, the safest, most direct way out of here is probably just continuing following this road. I've done a couple of pretty tough workouts this week, and I'm pretty sore. Yesterday was a tough workout, and my legs are feeling it. I've gotten a lot smarter about my training. I used to crush myself. I used to just hit it hard and just beat myself to a pulp and be so sore all the time. But now I've started to realize that since I'm not training to be an athlete anymore, I'm not training specifically for any one thing. My goal is just general physical preparedness. I've toned the lifting and the workouts down a little bit. I still want the performance, but I don't want to be so crippled by the workout the day before that I can't perform today. And I think that's an important thing to think about. My background is in strength and conditioning. I've trained athletes, everything from Division I athletes at the collegiate level to naval special operators. If the training is beating you up so much that you are not capable of being operational ready on game day, then you're missing the point. So many guys, I used to be one of them, I still am from time to time, so many guys hit the weights and hit the gym and pound themselves so much that they can't move the following day. And what if the following day is go time, is game day? That would be not ideal. So it's the old saying of train smart, not hard, essentially. Train smarter, not harder. There's definitely something to that, and I think that is something that should definitely be evaluated in your training regimen. If you are one of those guys that's a hard charger, a fire breather, you should definitely think about how capable will you be tomorrow after you do a 1,000 push-ups. Just something to think about. As the sun goes down and I continue to walk here, I'm gonna have to potentially start looking for a place to make camp. I don't want to wait too long because I know that I'm going to need a lot of firewood to have a pretty good sized fire to see me through the night and keep me warm. If I was to walk until it got dark, and not be able to see what I'm doing because I don't have a flashlight. That's one thing that's missing out of this little kit is a flashlight. The goal was to keep the pack under $100, and that was accomplished at the sacrifice of some things that you'd like to have. There's the need to haves in there. There's not a lot of want to haves. A want to have would be a flashlight. So I'm gonna need to start looking for a place to make camp pretty soon. And one of the big concerns that I have, obviously it's gonna be cold tonight, but one of the big concerns that I have is that it's pretty windy up on top of this mountain. And if I don't find a way to get out of that wind a bit, it's gonna be, it's gonna make the cold that much more miserable. So as I walk in the next, 10, 15 minutes, I'm gonna hopefully come across some place that I can call home for the evening. It's funny how when I wasn't looking for a place to camp, there were reasonably flat, good spots to camp everywhere. Now, everything is near vertical. I mean, where are you gonna lay down on that? That's what I'm saying. I've come off the road a bit, and now I just need to find a reasonably flat spot to make my camp. How hard could that be? It may not look it, but everything's pretty steep. But I'll find a spot. And I need to kind of do it in a little bit of a hurry because the sun has already gone down below the top of the mountain there. That's where the sun was. It's gone. That means it's gonna get dark soon. And that means I need to have all my firewood in order. Now I could, if I have time, use the tarp that's in my kit to set myself up kind of a lean-to shelter. And with the reflective side of the tarp down, the Mylar side of the tarp down, it will potentially reflect a lot of that heat back down on me. But the priority is definitely getting enough firewood to see me through the night. But I'm in a hurry here. I'm sweating, which is bad. If I can't get enough firewood, I'm gonna get cold, no matter what kind of shelter I put up. So I potentially may just be rolling up in the tarp like a burrito this evening. We'll see. So this looks like as good a spot as any. I can rig up my shelter between those two trees, build my fire maybe right here-ish, lay down right there, or vice versa. We'll see, but I think this might be home for the evening. All right, I think I have enough wood to last me through the night, but you know how that goes. When you think you have enough, always add more. I've got a good pile right here. Hopefully you can see that here. I've got a good pile of wood right here about the size of me. My smalls right here that I'm gonna use to get the fire going. A whole big pile of smalls and mediums right there to keep it going if it should fizzle out. And then any of the bigger pieces of wood that were too difficult to break up without an axe or a saw, and without and by trying to put it between the crotch of a tree and breaking them. These hardwoods are pretty tough to do that with sometimes. I just left them long, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gradually feed them into the fire throughout the night, and that should last a good long while. Now, my next priority is to get something to lay down on. This ground right here, I don't know if you can see it with that darkness, that's wet, and that is going to be frigid tonight. I ended up going with a just a leaf bed. The boughs on the trees around here are so skimpy. It would take me eternity to gather enough boughs off of the hemlocks around here to make any kind of bed. So I went with damp leaves. It's not going to be that warm, but at least it'll be a little bit softer than being on the ground, and it'll be warmer than being on the ground, the bare ground. And it's the best that I can do, so I'm gonna have to make it work. It's pretty windy, it's getting cold, and it's getting dark. I need to get my fire going, and otherwise that's about it. And if I have any more daylight after I get the fire going, I'm just gonna gather some more wood, but I need to make sure the fire gets going first. So in this kit comes these quick little tinder tabs. They've got some sort of flammable substance on them, and they burn quite a while. So all you gotta do is just get them going with a quick little flick of the bic, and then they burn for plenty long enough to even get some wet wood going. Super easy way to start a fire. It doesn't get any simpler than that. So far so good. The kit seems to be working out pretty good. I've got my fire, I've got a shelter, I've been able to collect and clean water, and I even put some rations in my canteen cup. There's plenty of room in this little bag for that. Just raided the pantry, got a couple of granola bars and some beef sticks, beef jerky. And then, for in the morning, I've got an extra special surprise. One of these little chocolate wafer bars, whatever they're called. And a little Folgers in your cup. I can feel some heat reflecting back off of this tarp. This Mylar surface on the inside here is definitely reflecting some of the fire's heat back on me, and that's going to be awesome. So as long as I can keep the fire going, which I'm pretty sure I will be able to with what I've gathered, I'm going to be sitting pretty. Well, I won't be pretty, but I'll be sitting. So let's check and see what else is in this little pack, in this little survival kit. $99 is what this pack costs. Even the pack itself, everything inside of it included, $99. I've got my fire starters, which you saw. I've got three of the little mini Bic lighters. This pack is actually pretty decent too. It carries pretty well. Seems to be fairly durable and robust for as little as it costs, you know. My spare batteries for my GoPro. Compass, which you saw earlier. A small first aid kit, mostly just like for boo-boos. It's got some band-aids and I think chapstick and some small scissors, some gauze, some alcohol wipes, alcohol swabs, that kind of stuff. So if I was to be walking home in rubber boots and I should happen to develop some blisters on my heel, I'd be able to tend to them a little bit with the stuff that's in here, which is great. So, little first aid kit, it's awesome. A cotton bandana, which is, I mean, it has a million uses. We don't need to go into those, but I could use it for all kinds of things. Straining, filtering, a pre-filter for water. I could put it over my cup, dip it in the creek, keep sand and debris and stuff out of it. The Sawyer mini filter. A small little fishing kit, which I don't think I'm going to get a chance to use. I'd like to, but there's not really any body of water that's going to have any kind of fish in it on my route home. But it's a survival fishing kit, compact version. Weights, and it's got sinkers and hooks and line and things like that in there. My car keys, of course, to the truck that doesn't run. The straw for the filter, which I could also use to stoke the fire if I need it. And I think that's pretty much it. So all in all, pretty solid little kit. By far the three most valuable items in this kit, I would say, are the lighters. The lighters, this metal cup, and this tarp. If you had these things, you'd be okay. If you had those three things, the rest of it is a bonus. The bag to carry it in obviously is great. But if you had the cup, you had the lighter, and you had this tarp, those are the three things that would really be helpful. The multi-tool is good too. I forgot about that. I used the multi-tool to cut some of the paracord, as you saw earlier, to rig up my tarp. Is it a super high quality multi-tool? No, absolutely not. But I think it was, you know, 10 or 15 bucks. And you got to stay, if we're trying to stay under budget, under the 100, you could easily spend $100 on the multi-tool itself. So, with that said, is it a functional tool that can be used to get the job done in an emergency situation or in a tight spot situation? Yeah. Decent pair of pliers, pretty robust. The blade on it is actually really sharp. I was surprised. I was expecting to be like a butter knife, but it's razor sharp. It's got a little saw on it that worked good. I cut some roots out of the way. The saw actually works really, really well. So yeah, a decent multi-tool. And from a guy that has spent a significant amount of time in the woods with absolutely nothing, you'd give your right eye for the crappiest multi-tool in the world. And this is not the crappiest multi-tool in the world. A butter knife would be an amazing, amazing thing to have if you had nothing else. If you were living a Stone Age existence, and if you found a caveman, you went 10,000 years ago, and you found one of our ancestors, and you handed him a butter knife, he would look at that thing in awe and just be amazed at its capabilities and how incredibly durable and strong that thing would be. I think too many times we get overwhelmed and wrapped up in the quality of gear. Quality is important. Quality gear that you pay for, you get what you pay for, and quality gear is going to last a long time, and it's gonna work better, generally speaking. But do you need to spend $500 on a knife, on a fancy bushcraft knife? Absolutely not. Is this multi-tool going to last forever? No, it's eventually probably going to give up. I got smoke in my eyes. It's eventually going to give out. But for an emergency kit like this that you can just kind of throw in your truck, behind the seat or something like that, it's going to get the job done. And I have no issues with it. And for $100, all this stuff, I have no complaints. Good morning. We didn't die, did we, girl? No, we didn't die. I think it's actually gotten warmer this morning. Or maybe I've just been doing a better job of stoking the fire. It's a lot of, the stars were out last night and it was freezing cold. The wind was coming through here, making it even worse. It was a lot of stoking up the fire, nodding off, waking up shivering, stoking the fire, nodding off, waking up shivering, just repeat over and over again. I burned up most of the wood, still got a little bit left. I'm gonna make a hot beverage and get myself going. Just covered a lot of ground yesterday, probably. I don't know, it's hard to say. I didn't time it or measure the distance exactly, but I'd say I walked probably 6 miles yesterday. A couple hours of walking. I've got a few more miles to do today, so I'll get that hot cup of coffee in me, which is going to be awesome, and then get going. How's that sound, girl? She's okay with it. So overall, this little kit has worked out fantastic. It's gotten me nearly out of the mess that I've put myself into, and with a reasonable amount of comfort last night. It got really, really cold in the middle of the night. The stars were out bright, and it was freezing. But honestly, it feels like it's gotten warmer this morning. The clouds have come in. Hopefully, it doesn't rain on me, but it actually feels like it's gotten significantly warmer. But this kit has worked out fantastic. It's made me fire. It's provided me with shelter, clean drinking water, all of the things that I would need on a short get out of trouble situation. The only issue I've had with the kit so far is the grommets. One of the grommets on the tarp has started to tear a little bit. This is the second time that I've used this little tarp. And maybe I've torqued on it a little bit too hard for what it is. But other than that, everything's been perfect. The bag has been great. It's held up really well. Seems to be fairly durable. And I got smoke in my eyes again. Wet wood, smoking like crazy. But other than the grommet tearing out on that tarp just a little bit, everything's been great, and I'll be making my way home here shortly. It's not too much further, I don't think, until I get back to civilization. And if this was a real situation, I could potentially call for help, call for a tow truck. But I'll be taking a motorcycle to go get my truck. I tell you, it doesn't matter how cold you were last night. First hill, you gotta start shedding layers again. And then seems hard to believe that you're shivering, freezing to death just a few hours ago. Well, it's been a couple hours of walking today, this morning, and I've made it back to familiar ground. So all in all, I would say, I don't know the exact distance, but I would guess that it's about maybe, say 10, 12 miles, something like that. I've had no issues, other than being a little thirsty and tired and cold last night. But it just goes to show you don't need a really fancy kit. You don't need to spend $1 million to get the job done. Can you buy higher quality, more expensive gear? Of course. If you're using it every day and you're going to be out in the wilderness and you know, far-reaching places that you're going to have to be a lot more self-reliant, then I think it would be worth the investment to upgrade. But I think this little kit is a fantastic place to start. I mean, for $99, you can't hardly beat it, and it does everything that you need it to do. Not a lot of want tos in there, but there's everything that all the need tos are in there. So I really appreciate you joining me for this little adventure, this self-induced get home situation. I appreciate the guys from Survival Dispatch sending me their $100 budget survival bag, and I'll see you on the next one.